Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today we are solving a very popular interview question is to find the top k frequent elements in a given array. So let's get into it. First of all, before we start coding or do anything in these live coding interviews, the first thing we need to do is try to understand the problem and then do some clarifying questions to the interviewer so we can like a better picture of what we want to do. Also show to the interviewer that you understand the problem and you are willing to work in a collaborative environment. So let's jump into the problem. Given an integer array nums and an integer k, we need to return the k most frequent element within the array. Okay, they give us an example and the expected output. Okay, we have it here, the example and the expected output. So the first thing I will do before I start jumping to code will be try to think edge case and some scenarios that I could ask some questions to the interviewer. For example, in a case of tie between two elements with the same frequency, between two elements with the same frequency, with the two elements with two elements with the same frequency, which one do we choose? For example, do we choose the bigger one, the smaller one? Which one do we choose? So how does the order matter? That will be like the first question that I will ask in this scenario. He say here that we should return it in any order, but I don't know if that like the biggest first and the second one is the smaller one, but it didn't mention anything about in case of a tie, you know? So that will be one of the first question. The second question that I could ask in this case will be like, can I consider like all the numbers, all the integers will be positive? You know, can the array contains like negative numbers? That will be an interesting question to ask also. Another question that it came to my mind is like this array could be empty, for example. Nums array could be empty. That's an interesting question. And finally, I always like to ask a question that sometimes there will be give you no answer because you're supposed to think about that, but sometimes it shows that you are willing to work with somebody else in this case. And is can you imagine, can you think in any other edge case that I'm not consider? Do you think that I should think or I should consider any other thing that I haven't asked so far? That's an interesting question that I always recommend to ask at the end of all your questions. So when do we have these questions? Now we need to start thinking how are we going to solve this problem. Okay, we need to start explain to our interviewer the logic behind our thinking. So how can we solve this problem? So before jumping into any algorithm or anything that we want to do to solve this problem, I always want to create like a certain step by step of what I'm going to do in my docstring. So I can always go back and see what I'm trying to do and why I'm trying to do it, because sometimes when you are coding, you tend to forget. Okay. For example, here that I will try to copy and paste here what I'm going to do. So for example, one of the things that is important is that they will give us an integer or an array of integers. Here I will have, for example, this give me an input. It will be an array of integers, and okay, that will be our two inputs. I will put it better this way. These are two inputs, an integer, an array of integers, and an integer k. That's our input. And what should be our output? Our output should be a list of k with len k. Okay, this is our input, and this should be our output. Now we can start by thinking our approach. Okay, how can we solve this? What I'm thinking in creating a dictionary that it will save me the frequency of how many times a certain item appears inside my list. Okay, this kind of dictionary is called like hash map. So I will have a hash map for the frequency of every items, how many times it appears. Then when I have this hash map, I will sort it by the frequency and I will get the value with the k values with the highest frequency. So let's write it down. Create a hash map. I will create a dictionary with the frequency of each element on my list, then sort my dictionary by values. In this case, the values will be the frequency of every num, and then I return the k top values. Okay, this is my step by step what I'm going to do. So this will be the first step. Second step will be sort my dictionary, and finally I will return the top k values. Now that we have this, we can pass to start translating this into code. How can we translate this to code? Okay, the first thing is create a dictionary. Okay, so I will call it count. It will be a dictionary. Now, what do I want to save in the dictionary? Okay, for every element, I want to save how many times it appears. So one of the way of doing this is by saying, for example, for n in nums, I will create a loop to go through all the data, all the integers in my list. I will say count in n, okay? If the number already is in my dictionary, I will increase. Let me put it first. Yeah, and if not, 0 plus 1. What I'm doing here, and say, okay, fine, I will create count and n. What is count and n? I will ask to count. If you have n, the number n as a key, you'll add 1 to count an n. If that number doesn't exist, if that key doesn't exist, you just put 0 and then add 1. With this, I will if the number n does not appear in my dictionary, I'm creating a new one with 1 with the frequency 1. And if the number n is already on my dictionary, I just add in 1 to the previous counter that I have. So with this, I already have my hash map of frequency. Now, I want to sort this dictionary by values. I don't want to sort it by the key of the dictionary because the key are the numbers and the value are the frequency. So if I want to sort it by values, I will have to first I need to convert this dictionary in sort time of list or set, something like that, to be able to sort. So how can we do that? I will say sort, it will be equal to sorted. And what do I want to sort? I want to sort count dot items. What this do is this returns a list of like tuples, like a set when it's a key value, key value, key value, and I'm sorting it. But I need to sort it by the value of the dictionary, not for the key. So I will say lambda x in 1, because each one of these items, it will be like a tuple. It will be like x, it will be something like this. X will be something like this. And so I want to sort it by the value. I'm going to the first item, the item in the position 1, and sort it by this element. So, and then I want to reverse equal true, so I can have in the first position the top element. Okay, perfect. Now I have my sort, and now I should return. What do we need to return? We need to return a list of k integers. So what do we need to return? We need to return num for num, yes, num for num insert, for num insert, we say that it was a key value. So I say num for num insert, and here returning everyone. So I need only, okay, let's try it. Congratulations. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye.